Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Well, hello, folks. Welcome to episode number 49 of Legends in Leadership. Happy Halloween, by the way.
Yay.
Yeah, it's a chilly day here in Texas. It's going to be chilly for the trick-or-treaters tonight, right?
Better than hot, though.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm a family officer with the Carrington Group. I want to welcome my co-host, Dr. Blair Ritchie, who's the executive director of the International Student Foundation, and then, of course, my fellow partners and family officers, Jason Smith and Kyle Watkins. Rumor has it that you've got something teed up in the trivia category today that might have a Halloween theme.
Well, it is Halloween, so in the spirit of Halloween, this is hard with leadership, right? But I think you can help me with this. A legendary leader who has a kind of a sideways connection to not only just Halloween, but our guest today. Ooh. So,
wow.
See if I pulled this off. Now, at ISF, we have this great big heart for foster care students. We come alongside them as they transition out of foster care and help them achieve their dream of a college education. Well, today's legendary leader trivia character grew up in foster care. His father had abandoned him, abandoned the family shortly after his birth, and his mother died when he was just 2 years old. And so that left him in the care of foster families. Unfortunately, there was no ISF back then, so he tried to go to the University of Virginia and had to drop out a year into his education due to a lack of money. After a brief and failed stint as an Army cadet, he dedicated himself to his first love and was one of the first American authors to earn a living solely from his writing. He was a poet, but made his greatest mark as one of America's earliest practitioners of the short story. He became the inspiration for an entire genre of literature that included murder mysteries and science fiction. Such famous writers as Arthur Conan Doyle, Jules Verne were influenced by our legendary leader. Even Arthur Hitchcock attributed his creation of wonderful Halloween-type films to the influence of this legendary writer. There was a dark side, however, to our leader. He was preoccupied with death, struggled with alcohol, and was found delirious on the streets of Baltimore, wearing clothes that were not his own. He died 4 days later at the young age of 40. Gentlemen, who was this legendary
I don't know,
leader?
But I got a smile out of Justin, so I think you did a good job. You tied Baltimore together.
I tried to. I'll be back at the close of today's program with the answer.
Interesting. Justin will get the first. He's going to get the first guess at that. Excited about today's guest, former NFL Pro Bowl running back and now entrepreneur. From the backfield to the boardroom, Justin Forsett has morphed from football standout and fan favorite to successful entrepreneur and businessman. No stranger to hard work, perseverance, and beating the odds. The 9-year NFL veteran is the CEO and co-founder of ShowerPill, a thriving active care brand that he helped build into a multi-million-dollar business. Forsett's also an accomplished professional motivational speaker, drawing from his personal experiences on the field and beyond. The talented dynamo is inspiring thousands around the globe with his stories of overcoming adversity, teamwork, and leadership. But at the cornerstone of Forsett's professional accomplishments is his commitment to giving back. Giving away ShowerPill body wipes to hurricane victims in Puerto Rico and donating time and money to charitable organizations or encouraging at-risk youth in underserved communities. A graduate of the Harvard Business School's Crossover into Business program, Justin holds a bachelor's degree from UC Berkeley, where he played college football. Resides in Prosper, Texas, with his wife, Angela, who's a former Cal volleyball player. And their 4 children, of one of which he said is 7 weeks old.
Yep.
So Justin's a busy guy. for sure. Justin, pleasure to have you on the show today. Excited to hear a little bit about your journey.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited to talk about you today.
So, born in Lakeland, Florida.
Yep.
Then you moved to Arlington your sophomore year in high school to play football. So talk a little bit about your childhood, your upbringing, and kind of what brought you to Texas and started out your football career.
Yeah, I had very humble beginnings. Small town living, town of 3,000 people. Not a lot of people make it out to accomplish their dreams and goals and aspirations in life. Most people, when they leave high school, they go right into phosphate mining, which is the biggest industry in our town, or for furniture. So those are kind of the major options that you had. In Lakeland, Florida, there's a big grocery store called Publix, which is headquartered there. So very limited options. No one's really living out their dreams, and I wanted more out of my life. But coming from humble beginnings, the odds were kind of stacked against me. Came from a family that was very financially unstable at times throughout our life, never owning a home, bouncing around from place to place. Remember times when we were taking. I had to do my homework, read my R.L. Stein Goosebumps books by candlelight. I remember times when I had to take baths with our bottled waters. I remember running from the repo man because we couldn't afford to pay our car note. Where we had to park our car blocks down the street from our house and walk home, just so we could still have our car. Then our very lowest being living out of a motel, not having a home. Just all five of us, room 108 in this motel at the edge of town. Blue, green, vomit-looking carpet on the floor, huge windowsill, remember, overlooking the main highway that went through the middle of town, and begging and pleading my dad to please park in the back because I didn't want my classmates to see us in this situation. And I remember in those moments and the moments of adversity and heartache, and that I made a declaration that I wasn't going to allow my kids to deal with the same things that I was dealing with, not if I had anything to do with it. And my way out was going to be football. I saw a guy named Barry Sanders on Sunday. He was a small guy. He was probably the smallest guy on the football field, but he was the most electrifying player I'd ever seen. Watched him dip and dash through defenses, raising the crowd to their feet every Sunday on a terrible, terrible team in the Detroit Lions. But it was exciting. I was like, man, that gave me my hope. And I remember going to Publix grocery store, getting my first posters, Barry Sanders, passing it on my wall, and just thinking to myself that this is going to be the way. I was going to have to put the time and the work in, but by any means necessary, I was going to accomplish my dream, make it to the NFL. So I was on my fight early against all odds.
Inspiring upbringing and story. So talk about some of the early influencers. What brought you to Arlington, and then some early influencers in your life that were really a game changer for you and helped you propel your way through propel your way through football?
Yeah, so early on, I had both parents in the home. I had an uncle that was very close. I lived right across the street from my grandmother's house, so I had influences everywhere. Being a preacher's kid, I always had positive impact around me. People encouraging me, lifting me up when times were bad. My uncle, he was the first one in our family to really go to like a major college. He went to Rutgers University on an athletic scholarship. So I would tag along with him as he would drive around town in his Firebird and go on dates with him. I would be in the back seat while he'd be on his date with his girlfriend at the time, and lifting weights with him and doing push-ups and trying to run, just kind of emulate him, whatever he did. So he was one of the major influences. And I knew I had to work extremely hard because I was always one of the smallest guys on my team. People were always telling me what I couldn't do because I was too short, too slow, not big enough, and all those things kept, repeating themselves throughout the course of my journey, throughout my young football career. And guys like my uncle would encourage me. My dad would always encourage me. My grandmother was very influencing throughout my journey. By the time I got to high school, I was going to this public school in Florida and had amazing first 2 years, but my family decided it would be a better opportunity for me to go to college by moving to Arlington, Texas, and going to a school that my older brother had went to at the time, and it was Arlington Grace Prep. And it was a private Christian school right off of I-20 down in Arlington, and we picked up and moved everyone out. And I got out here, and people were constantly telling me, "Hey, man, this is Texas football. Guys are a little bit bigger here. You sure you want to be out here, playing with these guys?" And I had a dream, and I was on a mission, and I continued to fight, and we did well in the private school in the TAPS division here in Texas, and had guys that, my receiver is number 4 in the country at the time. Our quarterback was number 17 in the country at the time. I was only like a 2-star guy, but colleges were coming in and, showing interest in the team, so I had an opportunity.
Great segue from your high school football career into the college recruiting cycle and ranks. I understand it was kind of the first setbacks in your life. You had, I think, a scholarship offer for Notre Dame, and then they pulled the scholarship, and then you thought you may go to UT, and then you ended up at Cal. So I'm curious, those obstacles that you had to work through, and those hurdles that you had to get over with people telling you you're too small, you can't play running back. How did you ultimately use that to propel yourself as the running back that you ended up becoming?
No, I was determined not to allow anybody's criticism of me or limitations of me to define me, but refine me and make me a better person, a better athlete. And so I would, listen to it and then go try to do something about it by working hard and putting in the time and the sweat. And, it came often, but I was resilient. I wasn't going to let anything stop me. My faith was very important to me. It was something I hold near and dear to my heart. I wouldn't be able to be here today without it. So during those tough times, I was always to rely on my faith and, get me through, especially that Notre Dame one was a really big piece of adversity that I had to overcome. I didn't know what my future held for me. And, being turned down by them, after, feeling like finally somebody wants me and then they don't want me, and then, no other schools showing interest, and somehow some college kid doing spring practice. This is how it all worked out, because somebody at Cal, they were in spring practice. So signing day is in February. Spring practice is normally around May. I haven't signed anywhere as a high school kid, and someone gets hurt and the scholarship opens, and they offer me a scholarship, and
amazing.
That's how I get to Cal.
Man.
Played on 7 NFL teams.
Yes.
You were drafted 7th round, 2008 NFL draft to the Seattle Seahawks. Love to hear some of your favorite NFL stories, but more or less I'd like to hear about any particular coach or situation or individual that really made an impact on your NFL career.
Yeah, I was able to play with a lot of great players from college to the NFL. When I went to college, I was able to play with a quarterback named Aaron Rodgers. Played with came in with a running back named Marshawn Lynch, who ended up being another teammate of mine in Seattle when I was with the Seahawks. Deshaun Jackson, a lot of guys that could be future Hall of Famers one day. But my NFL journey was not easy. I was what is considered a journeyman, so I bounced around a couple teams. But some of those people or teammates or coaches that made the most impact on my life, one would be Tony Dungy. I had my first year. I had got cut after the first game, and then the Indianapolis coach picked me up. And I was always a fan because he was with the Tampa Bay Bucks when I was growing up, and that was just a 45-minute drive from where I grew up. And my dad used to take us on, during training camp. He would take us over to watch them practice, and I was able to see Mike Allstott and Warwick Dunn and Tony Dungy, Warren Sapp, and all those guys. So I was able to get this. It was always a trip with us. He would go. We'd wake up early in the morning before the sun came up. We'll go to Krispy Kreme, grab some donuts, and then go and watch spring practice. So it was kind of a tradition for us for a while, and so to get a chance to play for Tony was a dream come true, and just to watch how he encountered or interacted with the players was unlike anything I've seen before. He didn't treat us as just players, but men, and he cared about more so the man than the player. And I watched him engage with guys where I had coaches where it's like, hey, I'm up here, up high, and you guys are down here, and there's the hierarchy. But he came right down with the players. He was always constantly asking how you doing, how the family's doing. He looked you in the eye. He said good morning. Those little things that some coaches just don't do.
Make you feel valued.
Yeah. And just the way he led, and we watched him cry. We watched him, pour his heart out for the team, and for a guy like that, you wanted to run through a wall for. So his technique, his coaching technique, I loved, and leadership. was something I will always remember. Another guy that I played for, Pete Carroll, was a very high energy guy, very competitive. Just his skill to kind of really change a culture, change a locker room was really impressive to me. Gary Kubiak was another guy that really, he was all about loyalty. He was about respect, and he was a player's coach. He was not one of those guys that was just going to try to run you into the ground mentally, physically. He cared about you. And for me, he really changed my career, because I wouldn't have went to Baltimore if it wasn't for him, where I had my biggest years.
Seems to me that there's, just like in business, it's important to create a culture. And so all the theme through these coaches that you're describing is guys that created a culture. So it's way bigger than X's and O's, right? It's about culture. Yeah.
I mean, the most important thing, at least in online to work, and I believe in the business world, is the people. And we have a saying in the NFL where it says that, no, it's not about the X's and O's at the end of the day. It's about the Jimmys and Joes. So you can have a great scheme, you can have a great plan, but if your people aren't working together, if they don't have that culture, if they don't have that chemistry, then it's going to be all for naught. So I think people, pouring into the people, if that's your most valuable asset, you got to invest in them the most, and that's what those guys did.
And at the player level, as you've experienced a few different locker rooms, how do the leaders become leaders in the locker room? How do those small handful of guys begin to solidify that position and help at a peer level be leaders among the team?
Well, I think one is their work ethic, just by living by example. These are the guys that, not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk. Those guys that look up to the young guys, that look up to the people that come, they're in the locker room, they look up to the guys that have done some things. They've had some accomplishments on the field and off the field. Those guys we gravitate to because we want to get there one day. They've had some success, but the way they carry themselves is important. And I feel like they serve, and my whole philosophy is like the greatest leaders serve. And if you feel like you're too big to serve, then you're too small to lead. And those guys in the locker room, like where I had a Matt Hasselbeck or a Peyton Manning, a J.J. Watt, those guys served their teammates. They weren't about themselves 24/7. They were about trying to make the team better, and that's what you find with the great leaders in the locker room.
Most football fans out there remember specifically your days with the Ravens. So talk about what made the Ravens system and those particular teams your best years in the NFL.
Man, it was just a combination of, someone finally giving me an opportunity, being an undersized guy, the first position in, being a running back that they want to throw someone like me in is a third down back, change of pace, specialist and kick returner, punt returner, those things, but no one could really get past my height to kind of, see me as a every down running back or a Pro Bowl running back. But, situation happened in Baltimore when I came in doing the Ray Rice situation, and he was suspended, and they had to throw me in a lineup, and I was just the guy that was ready for my opportunity. I had been training for, that was year 7, so all those years, since year 1, I've been training like a Pro Bowl running back, and then never giving up, and then getting my time at age 29 to really show what I could do. I was ready for it. It was me. It was a combination of me working and constantly putting in the time and the sweat to maximize my opportunity when it came, and it just came a little bit later than I thought, but I was able to seize the moment when it came.
Such an amazing example of just never giving up, but you got to get up every day, and you've got to do the things that champions do, and that's what Justin did.
Well, and to go so many years where you're wanting your opportunity, but it doesn't come, how did you fight that? There had to be some discouragement and all that, saying, will I ever get my chance? What kept driving you?
Yeah, I mean, the year before I was in Jacksonville, and I just got fired from them a couple months before signing with Baltimore, and I was like, I didn't know. I mean, if I can't play for the Jaguars, who can I play for? So the future was really bleak for me. So I was getting ready to transition out of football, but I was in a place mentally, physically, and spiritually where I was free and I was at peace with whatever God had for me. So I was going to be a Pro Bowl running back, or I was going to be a Pro Bowl businessman. So that was kind of mindset I was in. I just kind of trust God too much to give up. and I knew I had a skill set. I knew I had a gift and talent, and if anyone gave me an opportunity, I was going to make the most of it. And thank God, at the end of the day, Baltimore Ravens gave me my shot, and I was able to run with it.
Want to shift just a little bit, and I'm curious as to your perspective about NFL athletes and their path after the NFL. We were talking just a little bit pre-show about this, but what do you believe is working from a leadership perspective and what's not working? And from your opinion, what can the NFL do better? And what are they doing well, and what can they do better to prepare athletes for that transition? Because it's not easy.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not easy. And like I was sharing before the show, just the statistics aren't great. A few years ago, Sports Illustrated came out with an article where it said, 80% of players 2 years after they're retired are either bankrupt, divorced, or depressed. And those are, staggering statistics when you think about it. And I didn't want to be in that number. And I think the league is doing a better job of just kind of trying to prepare guys, putting on workshops, having leaders come in and pour into guys and giving them opportunities throughout the course of their career. But at the end of the day, the ownership is on the player and on the man. You can't force him to do anything. Like I mentioned earlier, that the transition starts while you're playing. You can't wait till the end. You got to kind of start trying to figure out those things while you're in the midst of it, and then leverage your position in the NFL. People want to speak to NFL players. They want to help NFL players out. And if you can find out what you want to do early, it's going to make that transition that much more smooth. And, but at the end of the day, the player has to show that initiative and be proactive about it.
So let's talk about ShowerPill. So you were already preparing for your life after the NFL, because I understand the idea of ShowerPill was you and a couple of college roommates talking about basically a need that you saw that dates back to your days at Cal. So talk about segueing into becoming an entrepreneur after the NFL.
Sure. Me and my two teammates came up with the company. The term ShowerPill comes from the locker room. It's from an authentic place. It passed down from guys like Ronnie Lott, Staubach, Aikman. It goes back, centuries, generations. I mean, so it is a term where it's a joke in the locker room. There's pills for everything, but no pills for a shower. So when a guy skipped out on a shower, he says, "Hey, I'm taking a shower pill, bro. Don't judge me." So it was a joke inside the locker room, but it wasn't really a laughing matter when guys are catching like staph and ringworm and skin infections, and it can be a gross place. So we wanted to come up with a solution for guys when a shower was optimal but not possible. So when they're leaving a training session or leaving a practice and they can't shower until maybe the end of the day and can't get into anything right away, we want to come up with a solution. So we created a disposable washcloth, antibacterial towelette that removes sweat, dirt, and body odor, and inserted it into the locker room. But find out as we were continuing to grow as entrepreneurs and as men that the problem, superseded the locker room. There's people outside of the sports world that could use our product, whether it's campers, hikers, military men and women, soccer moms that are picking up kids from practice and, can't get into a shower. You don't want your car smelling like a locker room, so wiping down the kids. So those things, we understood that we had a pretty good business, pretty good idea, and kept running with it. Now being, sold on Amazon and 1,800 stores in Target and a few other big box retailers coming soon.
So I'm curious what lessons from football translated well for you guys. Yeah. And then what's something that you learned as being a business owner that was new to you and your teammates? Yes,
so there's a lot of carryover. One, persistence. There's a lot of no's and rejection in both football and entrepreneurship, and you have to show that grit. You have to be resilient. You got to get up every day knowing that it's going to be a fight, and if you don't fight, then it's not going to work out for you. There's a lot of the statistics I shared with you about players being broke, divorced, depressed, and whatnot after they're done playing. I think the statistics for entrepreneurship and small businesses going down are even worse. Yeah. So it's a challenging space, but every day knowing that, I can rely on my team, that we're going to pour into each other, that we're going to keep fighting, that we're going to be resilient, that we're going to constantly be coachable and learn and grow. Like those things are all, sports related. things that you don't know outside it. Just one, fundraising can be tough. It's a full-time job in itself. Whether it's going out raising capital from angel investors, VC firms, whatnot. Those one of the, that whole technique and that whole just lane of business I was foreign to. Not going out asking, raising money. That was not something that I had any background in. So learning how to do that, learning how to brand positioning, looking at a P&L statement, balance sheets, things like that were way outside of my scope. Growing up, but being able to learn it, being able to go to great schools like Cal and Harvard. Those things allow me to just kind of get ahead of the curve.
And what do you find you're enjoying most about the entrepreneurship space that maybe surprises you or maybe didn't surprise you, but just brings you joy?
Well, I'm in consumer packaged goods, and I just love branding. I love the story behind the brand. I love drawing those emotional ties to the consumer, and kind of, creating a tribe. Those things really encourage me, and learning your consumer, learning their behaviors, what makes them, decide between your brand and another brand. Like, what are those indicators? So that part of the business I really thoroughly enjoy. And it's fun. Like, I can see myself doing this a long time.
You made an appearance on Shark Tank,
yes.
and learned some amazing things from that. Tell us a little bit about Shark Tank and how that kind of has segued into what you've learned about having to go out and raise capital and to get a business up and running.
Yeah, for sure. Shark Tank was amazing opportunity on a number of fronts. So one, just exposure along, being able to share your business in front of 5 to 7 million viewers for free, essentially. It did wonders for the business. It really changed the trajectory of our company. On the other hand, when going on Shark Tank, as early as we did as being entrepreneurs, we had to take one on the chin. We didn't get a deal on there, and it was something that we could control. And being able to understand your business inside and out, even if it's not your specialty, especially me being a CEO of the company, having to know the ins and outs of, like, whether it's financial forecasting and the model and, telling that story and customer acquisition cost and things like that. Those things that was kind of foreign to me early. I was just getting out of the league and didn't really have that background and have anyone kind of pouring into me, a mentor or advisor to kind of help me with those things. But, from that experience and not getting that deal and knowing that, okay, they gave me a reason why I didn't get the deal. Now let me go fix that. And it's really changed the way I operate the business now.
Who's influencing you now in the business world?
So, I had a number of people. So one is a guy named Eric Ryan. So he's behind the brand Method. So I don't know if you know the cleaning supplies. He's also behind Ollie, which is a vitamin company. Both just had acquisitions. Method earlier, I think 2009, and Ollie just got acquired by Unilever a couple months ago. So he's it's kind of the Tom Brady of CPG, what we like to call him. No disrespect to my quarterback Joe Flacco, but yeah. So he's one of the guys. I have another guy, advisor, kind of mentor named Tristan Walker. He's behind the Bevel brand. It's kind of shaving and personal care products for African American males. I have a number of guys that just like whether mentors, speakers, like guys like Patrick Lencioni within the leadership and culture organizations, just management behavior, like that side of business, like has been helpful for me throughout my journey.
Inspiring story. I'm curious. There's a lot of youngsters out there that are aspiring to be something. Whether they want to be a star athlete or they, want to accomplish something in the business world. With everything that you've been through and the path that you've been down, if you could provide one or two pieces of advice for that young college kid or high school kid that's maybe feeling like he needs a lift, what are one or two things that you would leave that person with that might be a motivational factor for them?
Sure. So one, I would encourage that young man or woman that has big dreams and want to be very successful in life, that, adversity is inevitable, but embrace those times, because I believe greatness grows best in the shadows. So what I mean by that is that we don't get our greatest gains when we're at the top of the mountain. We get our greatest gains when our climb and our pursuit to the top. So those times and those moments when we're constantly being pulled and stretched, and we have to dig deep within ourselves and pull out things that we didn't even know was there. And those things are going to be able to take us to the next level. The other thing is excel at what you can't control. There's so much in this world that's out of our control. You can't control how people think about you. You can't control sometimes the situations that you're in that's outside. So don't waste your energy or your mentals on those things that are outside of your control. Excel at the things that you can control. Your attitude, your effort, your preparation. Those things will keep you until you get your breakthrough. So those are, I guess, one or two things that I would encourage a young man and woman that's chasing their dreams.
That's great.
Great stuff. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
Man.
I wish we could go a while longer, but we can't. So we'll segue over and find out who the Baltimore Halloween-themed leader is today.
This was a challenge to kind of morph all this together. Anybody want to take a guess at this one?
Do you have an idea?
Quote the Raven.
Quote the Raven.
Edgar Allan Poe.
You nailed it. You nailed it. There you go. Quite an interesting story. And yeah, you Baltimore folks would love that.
Yeah.
Justin, been so much fun. Really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with us and share just what I think is incredible wisdom about leadership. And what an inspiring journey, for sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Quick plug for ISF. Can you believe it? It's the 2019 Taste of Chamberlain's Gala Saturday night at the Below Mansion. It's here. We got a big crowd that we're expecting.
And a few seats still open.
And a few.
Yeah.
Just a few.
Just a few seats available. So if there's any listeners out there on the fence or would like to take advantage of one of Dallas's really great experiences as far as galas go, and a great cause of raising some funds for our scholarship kids and ISF, helping that 3% of a number of foster care kids who ever get a college degree, and how we're able to come alongside and make it happen for them. So
great entertainment, great food, and really an inspiring night.
Saturday night, doors open at 5:30. You can go to ISF site, site.org for tickets, and
events tab, and you're there.
Hit the events tab and come on out.
It's not too late. It's definitely not too late. We're very excited about that. So, folks, that's a wrap for our podcast today. On behalf of the Carrington Group, the International Student Foundation, and our special guest, Justin Forsett, we want to wish all of you a great day. Remember this, that if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. Have a great week.
Legends in Leadership is brought to you by the Carrington Group. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. To learn more about the Carrington Group, visit their website at www.carringtonfo.com or Google Carrington Group Dallas, Texas. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphaned youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. To learn more about ISF, visit their website at isfsite.org or Google International Student Foundation to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.